take a challenge. Like Quran says, you will not even be able to produce a small fly like a fly. And today, all the technology, all of the knowledge we have about science and everything else, human beings can't produce a fly. That's one of the challenges. We're not here to convince you. We're not Christians. You're not going to be saved by us. So what's the next goal? What are you guys going to do about it? That you didn't learn from school. So here's a question. If we were to go out to, outside of planet Earth, we went to another planet, and we were digging the floor and we find a very complex machine, would you not agree that the only person who can tell you what this complex machine is about is the one who created the machine? You guys agree?
Yeah.
In the same way, what the point I'm trying to make here is we're human beings. The only one that can tell us why we're here is the one who created all of the creation, right? So that's the only one that can tell us what is our purpose of life, right? Because we all should have a universal purpose. You get what I'm saying? I know it's a big question and something to discuss, but the point we're trying to make is that there must be a purpose, and the only one who can tell us is the creator of the heavens and the earth. And we're saying that this creator didn't lead us astray. It sent us guidance since the beginning of time till now. Would you like to know what it is? It's in Arabic, so now I'll explain it in English. It's La ilaha illallah. You know what that means? There's no other deity that deserves to be praised and worshipped except Allah. The word Allah in Arabic means Al-Ilah, the deity that deserves to be praised and worshipped. And this being, what is worship in Islam? Everything you do to know something the most, and love something the most, and obey something the most can become worship. So for example, someone plays hockey the most. He loves hockey the most. He spends all his time on hockey. He goes to hockey school. That playing hockey can become his worship. So what is the creator of the heavens and the earth saying? Every single thing you do, you go to work, as long as you're not stealing, that's worship. Taking care of your mom and dad, that is worship. Taking care of the homeless becomes worship. So as long as you're following God and you're following the messengers of God like Adam, Ishmael, Isaac, Noah, Jesus, and Muhammad, peace be upon them all, as long as you're following how to live your life in the best way. I mean, the prophets, when they came, they taught us how to eat. Like for example, Prophet Muhammad said, eat 1/3, drink 1/3, and 1/3 air. Mean don't overconsume yourself food. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, told us that if you live next to a river, don't waste water. So wasting water can be going against worshiping God, right? Because you're destroying the planet Earth. In the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says on the day of judgment, if there's the last day of judgment, even if you have a small seedling, plant it. So in Islam, we're commanded to plant trees. Islam is not a religion, it's a way of how you live. And that living the way how you live is the purpose of our life, is to be the best way you can. Like for example, you go to the gym and you work out and you're healthy, and being healthy so you can help and be in servitude of the Creator, that becomes worship. You see, it's very logical and rational how to live your life. Does that make sense? But do you know why it makes sense? Why do you think it makes sense? Here's the point. If I ask you, there's a cow and he eats grass, and this being deserves to be worshipped. In order for you to believe that, I would have to come up with philosophical ideas and stories to make you believe in them. Yes? Because you'd be like, no, I don't believe a cow is a creator. Yes? I'm not knocking anyone's tradition. I'm just saying, but because something you already is innate in you, it's already in you to believe there has to be a creator. There has to be, all of this didn't come from nothing. All of this didn't create itself. Now, the best way to live is the Creator created the human beings to understand what is the right way to live. In Islam, we believe that every human being is born as a Muslim. So what is a Muslim in Islam? The word Muslims come from the word Islam. Islam means aslam taslam, to accept, right? To live your life, to worship the Creator. So the one who does Islam is considered a Muslim. So for example, if I'm traveling, you call me a traveler because you add the words ER. If I'm driving, you call me a driver, drive ER. In the same way in Arabic, when someone does the action, you give the letters MU. For example, if I'm traveling in Arabic, it's called safar. The one who does safar is called musafir. So in the same way, the one who does Islam is considered a Islam, Muslim. You guys get it? So in that way, we're saying Jesus was a Muslim, Abraham was a Muslim, Ishmael was a Muslim, Adam, Noah, all of them were as Muslims because they submitted their will to the Creator and they were living this righteous life. How to share the message of Islam, just not only to others, even to implementing in their life, and they were the role models. Make sense? So let me ask you guys a question. Have you guys ever looked into Islam?
I took a course on it.
Did you? Oh, excellent. So what did you learn?
Lots of things.
Like what? I mean, beyond the 5 pillars of Islam. Because everybody knows that.
Well, honestly, there
Yes.
What is the class?
It was kind of delving into like the historical interpretation of the Quran and the things of that nature.
Can I ask you a question? Have you ever read the Quran?
I heard
Surahs, chapters, yes.
yes.
So here's the point. This Quran has no beginning, it has no end. Do you know why? Like for example, in the Bible, it starts with in the beginning was the Word was God, the Word became God, and so on and so forth. And there's a historical paradigm going on from beginning to end, right? In the Quran, it has absolutely no beginning and it has absolutely no end. Do you know why? They won't teach you this. Do you understand? What you learn in school about Islam is not what Islam is. This is the unfortunate part, that one of the things we have to do is to educate non-Muslims and Muslims about Islam. The reason why it has no beginning or end, because the creator in Islam has no beginning and end. So just like the creator has no beginning, no end, the book has no beginning and end. So it means you can keep relearning and re-understanding it over and over in this original Arabic language, and then it would never get old. You understand?
Same philosophy, like present in some of the architecture, like with the geometry and things like that.
Well, I mean, the creator created everything. So if it correlates with that, then it comes from the creator.
I just know the geometry and like the architecture philosophy that the geometry used starts with a T.
Yes.
I can't remember.
I'm not in
But
engineering.
No, but I think that same philosophy is like present in the architecture.
So let me ask you a question. What is philosophy? Just so we have this, because we use words, and words are vehicle to meaning.
I think
Love
like
of knowledge.
Love
if
of
you're
knowledge.
breaking it down.
Yes. So I would say philosophy is a philosophical idea of someone's mind that comes up with it. We believe the Quran is not philosophy. The reason why we say it's not philosophy, because if you understood, the Quran didn't come down as a book form. The Quran came to Prophet Muhammad through Angel Gabriel. Okay, so we believe the creator of the heavens and the earth is outside of time, outside of space. So what we believe the creator in Islam, so can I define what a creator is? So I think you would have a very good understanding. So in Islam, we believe the creator tells us who he is. In some of the last chapters, like Surah Ikhlas, he tells us, Qul huwallahu ahad, say God is one. Allahu samad, mean he's infinite, he's not finite. He's self-sufficient, he's not dependent on anything. So Qul huwallahu ahad, Allahu samad, lam yalid wa lam yulad. He did not beget anyone, nothing begat it. Means he doesn't have uncles, aunties, brothers, sisters, daughters, and cousins. You understand what I'm saying? So, Qul huwallahu ahad, Allahu samad, lam yalid wa lam yulad, wa lam yakul lahu kufuwan ahad. And the last verse, or the last line, is so powerful that it just puts an end in everything. It says, whatever you concept your mind were creator, this is not God. For example, you think he's a man, he's not God. If you think he's an animal, that's not God. If he's a tree, he's not God. If you think he's a light, he's not God, because light is photon. If you think anything your conceptual mind can come up with, that's not a creator. The creator is beyond human comprehension. However, the creator does introduce himself to us through revelation, so what we believe there are 7 heavens. We believe the creator of the heavens and the earth sent down his wahi, revelation, kalam Allah, speech of God, through God to the lowest heaven in preserved tablets. And from there, Angel Gabriel brought it down in 23 years to Prophet Muhammad, right? There was other ways that came too, but one of the ways, Angel Gabriel brought it down. And Islam is an oral tradition. What that means is, Islam wasn't preserved in a book form in the beginning. In the beginning, it was only orally transmitted from one person to another. So like right now, even today, there's over 35 million people, as per Google, that have memorized the Quran cover to cover in the Arabic language. Get what I'm saying? So it means, not only is memorized, because one of the things the Quran says that we have sent this message, the similar message to the nations before, and they changed the message. And this time we're going to preserve it. So how he's going to preserve it, or what we understand the wisdom of it by observing this, that we see human beings, millions of people around the world, 35 million as per Google. I think the number is more.
More than any other religion.
More, yeah, because most people, Bible, first they don't read it. Second of all, nobody has ever memorized the Bible from cover to cover, right?
Isn't like the Quran more like lyrical? Like it's easier
Yes.
to remember because it's that.
Yes, so twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder. So the words are there. I still remember them in my late 40s because it has a rhythmic idea. So the Quran, God says, I will make it easy for you to memorize it and learn it and be able to implement it. But it's not just songs. It has how you live your life, how you act, how you take care of your mom and dad, how you take care of your neighbors, how do you take care of the government, how you take care of your finances. So it's a whole practical way of living. You get what I'm saying? So So this is kind of what really Islam is about, is to give humanity, a real purpose, how to live its life in the best way possible. And that's really what Islam is. It's a very simple way of living. It's not an idea to indoctrinate people, to confuse people. Like I said, the reason it makes sense to you guys, because that's something that's already innate. What do I mean by that? If I had to, like I said, if I had to teach you a concept that was foreign to you, right? You would have to think about it like, I get it, but it doesn't make sense. How does that make sense? What it is what I'm doing, or what I'm sharing the message, is already confirming what you already believe. What do I mean by that? You guys had toys when you were a kid? What was your favorite toy when you were a child? A car. Imagine you go to your mom and dad's house and you find that car again, right? If you see it again, does it give you any new memories, or does it recall the memories you playing with that toy when you were a kid, right? So what I'm sharing with you today, it's already inside you. I'm just recalling memories of what you already believe. Be a good guy, don't lie, don't cheat, don't worship anything other than the Creator. That's very rational, intuitive. Means, in Islam, we believe that if you worship anything other than God, worship means is to ask help from something that cannot help you. Like, for example, if something's not Hadir, Qadir, and Hay, means something's not present, is not able, and is not alive, you can't ask. Like, for example, my mom's passed away, right? I can't ask her for a glass of water. Why? She's not here, she's not alive, and she's not able to give me. In the same way, in Islam, we're taught that you do not ask anyone for help except God. Unless those people have that three quality. Like if somebody had a glass of water, I can ask for a glass of water because they're alive, they're here, they're present, and they're able to give me a glass of water. So, but you can't ask anyone for help who's not alive, who's not here, not present. That's really what the nutshell of Islam is, to worship the Creator alone, don't make partners with Him. And your whole life, that what you do is all actions, the actions of the tongue, the actions of the heart, and actions of the limb, they all become worship. That you didn't learn from school. Exactly.
Do you think that innate, all of those innate qualities and all those motivations are innate for everybody?
Yes.
Do you think?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah. Don't you believe every human being believes to want goodness for themselves?
I don't know.
Well, don't they want to go to work, make money? Don't get up and brush their teeth?
Not everybody.
Just people don't get up and brush their teeth?
Some people don't.
Yeah, but I'm saying, but they could be messed up of how they live. But
Do you think that that's not because it was innate, that's society, or that's...
yes, exactly. So Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said that every human being is born as a Muslim and their families make them into a Jew, Christian, or Pagan. So what does that mean? All ideas, democracy, liberalism, communism, feminism, any isms out there, materialism, modernity, whatever ism it's a thought concepts. It's not something that's innate. You have to be taught these things. But believing in being a good person doesn't need to be taught. You understand? You might have some deficiencies based on your culture bringing, or maybe your society teaching you something that might be going against. And that's why really Islam came as a reform, to teach people how to live your life. Because in the time of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, what they would do is, a man would marry 100 women, for example, and when the husband would die, the son would inherit all of his mothers as his wives. So Islam put a stop to that. Islam said, no, women are not, cattle and sheep that you just kind of give them to someone. They have the right to choose who they want to marry. In Islam, a woman, when she gets married to a man, she doesn't take on the husband's name because she's her self-identity. In the West here, when a woman marries, she takes on usually the husband's last name, right? So in Islam, she's not a personal property. In Islam, gave women the right to inherit 1400 years ago. Even here in Canada, 100 years ago, women weren't allowed to inherit. You understand? Even in Europe or anywhere. Islam gave freedom to women how to live. Islam taught women, some of the early, Prophet Muhammad, one of his wives was the highest scholar of Islam, Aisha radhiyallahu anha. And Islam taught women to empower by educating yourself, by liberating yourself. The first university ever was created by a Muslim woman, and to this day it's alive in Morocco. I don't know if you know that. You guys know the Statue of Liberty, for example. The Statue of Liberty was given by the French to the United States as a freedom of expression of freedom, which was based on a Muslim woman from Egypt. And this woman is holding a book in her hand, a torch on her right hand, and if you look at her closely, she's wearing a covering, a head covering. So what I'm saying, that Islam teaches you how to live your life in the best way. You know what I'm saying? So what do you guys think? Interesting,
I
huh?
like the interpretation.
I think I'm just contemporizing it.
Yeah, but I like that. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
it's-
tough because people interpret Islam and every other religion
Yes.
in different ways.
Yes.
Right? So it's,
I mean, there's only one way of understanding Islam. There's no multitude of understanding. What do I mean by that? Like if you look at Christianity, right? If you tell me how Jesus actually, what he said, you can't prove to me that he said it. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Sure.
Like in Islam, in order for us to call something that's knowledge, it has to come from the first sources. Like if I'm engaging with you right now, what I've said to you, you heard it from me on the first hand. So now some people across the road are not going to be able to understand what I said because they didn't hear it. So you are the first recipients of this conversation. When Prophet Muhammad was teaching, so we have accounts of the first-hand teachings of what Prophet Muhammad was teaching the people around them. So these people, we have account from them, who said it, when they said it, why they said it, where they said it, and what was the context behind it. Do you understand what I'm saying? But not only do we have that, we have chains that link from here all the way back to Prophet Muhammad. What do we mean by that? So a teacher taught a student, which taught a student, which taught a student, all the way today we have 21 generations of an unbroken chain of who said what. As Elizabeth Fricker says in one of her books, she's a philosopher, she says, say so of others a valid source of knowledge and epistemology, but the one who says it must be a credible source. You know what I'm saying? So it's now, we don't believe in these hush-hush ideas that we just have faith. We have to test the idea. Like the Quran does not make you believe in the Quran. If it challenges you, it challenges your intellect. It says, if you're in doubt what we send down to this man Muhammad, then produce something like it in the Arabic language. And no human being is able to produce something like the Quran for the last 1400 years. The Quran doesn't say, okay, just believe in it. Quran says, okay, if you can't come up with a message like it, then come with 10 chapters like it, right? And you know, the Arabs who were the masters of their language in the 7th century, who failed to produce something like that, what did they do? Instead of trying to produce something like it, they went to war against Prophet Muhammad. They started to kill the followers of Prophet Muhammad and so on and so forth. So finally, the Quran puts a challenge to the Arabs. If you can read this passage from here. Can you read it loud?
So 23?
Yeah.
And if you're in doubt about what we have revealed to our servant, then produce a chapter like it and call your helpers other than God, if what you say is true. But if you're not able to do so, you will never be able to do so, then fear the fire fueled with people and stones, which is prepared for the disbelievers.
So what this challenge, for the last 1400 years, human beings have been challenged with this, that there are many chapters. There's 114 chapters in here. You know what's the smallest chapter in the Quran? It's 3 lines. It's 10 words. No human being has been able to articulate a Arabic Quran like the 3 lines, 10 words. And this challenge has been up. I mean, there's many more other challenges, but I'm just giving you the most simplest challenge. So the Quran is not making you just believe in it just because of my parents are Muslim or my parents are Christian, so I just have to adapt this world. It'll challenge you in every front. Like God says that, you know, there's going to be things, it foretells of the future. You know, like for example, Prophet Muhammad said there'll be a time there will be Bedouin Arabs that'll be competing among themselves, building tall buildings. Now, someone in the 14th century in the middle of the desert would have to travel back in the future and to see that the Arabs would have these oil that would hit struck rich, and then they will build these buildings and they will compete. And these Bedouin Arabs, he's not talking about city dwellers, he's saying Bedouin, so it's very specific, meaning these are people from the desert that have no money. Because I remember my parents going to the Middle East about 60, 70 years ago, and they used to be begging for money. Now these same people are competing with the tallest buildings. And there's many, many prophecies that the Quran and the teachings of Prophet Muhammad talk about. They say there will be a time that the knowledge will be rampant, but illiteracy or ignorance will be rampage. So today we see an iPod has more information than any knowledgeable person, but there's so many ignorant people. Then, you know, it talks about there'll be a time that the truthful will be a liar and the liar will be the truthful. Today we see people like, and I don't want to quote it, but Donald Trump, people that are, you know, very not, you know, narcissistic, you know, they're always talking about, they think they're telling the truth, but they actually confuse people more, right? And there's many, many examples like that. And this was foretold to us 1400 years ago. The children would disobey their parents, right? There was a time that, you know, children would disobey their parents. They'd be speaking back to their parents. And many, many, many other prophecies that I can go on just for weeks. There'll be, like for example, one prophecy, there'll be dishes, they'll be faced up towards the heaven, and literally the word dishes will be faced towards the heavens or sky, and people will disconnect with one another. What that means is you're sitting on a dinner table with your mom and dad, and you're on your phone and you're not talking to one another. And we see that all of these prophecies are foretold 1400 years ago. You understand what I'm saying? So the point we're trying to make, either this book or this message is a human-made work or it comes from the Creator. I don't think there's any other option. What do you guys think? Do you think human beings can produce something like this?
I don't know.
Ask the question. Because if you say I don't know, that means I would say, let's say no. Yes? Because I don't know is not yes or no, right?
No, I don't think that. I think it's a lot to digest.
It is a lot to digest. So,
I think it's I don't know.
yeah, would like to investigate, no, kind of. Because what I'm saying is the Quran is saying that, okay, if you're in doubt what we send down to this man Muhammad, then take a challenge. Like Quran says, you will not even be able to produce a small fly like a fly. And today, you know, all the technology, all of the knowledge we have about science and everything else, human beings can't produce a fly. That's one of the challenges. There's many, many challenges, by the way, and I can go on about them. But I'm just saying is for you guys to kind of investigate and read and look into it. So at least for yourself, do yourself a favor and to just be like, hey, we're not here to convince you. We're not Christians. You're not going to be saved by us. You have to do your own effort. Our job is to deliver the message. Our job is not to convince you. Our job is to convey the message.
Do you speak Arabic?
I am learning, yes.
Do you find from, I guess, I don't know how advanced your Arabic is?
Not that advanced, but there's Arab brothers all over here.
Do you find it because the Quran is famously, written in Arabic originally.
Sure.
It hasn't changed languages 50 times like
That's right.
Like the Bible has.
Yes, yes.
So do you find when you read it in English that there's messages and meaning that's lost? Or do you find
Yeah.
it
Well, I wouldn't.
equivalent, or-
I think the main theme is there, which is there's a creator. He's one. He deserves to be worshipped. That's easy for anyone to read and understand. What may be, I wouldn't say lost, the depth. Like for example, imagine you have food on the table. By observing the food, you know the food looks really good. But only when you taste the food is when you enjoy the food. The Quran is the same thing. You will like what it says. It will make sense to you. It will be intellectually convince you or make you to understand why you're here. But will you be able to taste the depth of it? That's same as like eating a meal, when it goes in your mouth, like, oh yeah, this is good. That the Arabic will give you. But the gist of the message, why you here, what's the purpose of life, how you should live, what you're supposed to do, all that is conveyed through, don't worship anything other than Creator, all that is there. And the theme of understanding the message is there. You know what I'm saying? So how do you know what languages? I'm surprised because a lot of people never told me or never explained that to me. Are you into language or what?
No, I don't know where I heard that, but I guess a lot of people have that issue with the Bible, right?
Yes, yes.
It's been translated so many times, and
Yeah.
obviously when you translate, there's that broken telephone
Sure.
metaphor where you're going to lose some meaning each
For
time,
sure,
right?
for sure.
So I think it's interesting because I saw your Quran's obviously
In English,
right?
yeah,
So
it's a translation. That's why we don't say it's a Quran, we say it's a translation.
Yeah.
We
so
make
I'm
sure that it
curious
says
as
it's
to, like,
translation.
If anything's lost there, or
Yeah,
is that why you're learning
So
Arabic?
yeah, for sure. So I can taste the meaning. But here's one thing I'm going to tell you, because a lot of people have a really confusion about, let's say, the telephone chain, right? Like you told someone, and he told someone something, and by the time it came around, it was completely changed. So the Muslims in the 7th century or the 1400 years ago, they understood this problem. So that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah means Al-Ilah, the deity that deserves worship. In the Quran says, today I have completed and perfected the deen of Islam for you. Means that we hold our view that Islam has never been changed, never been modified. Now, how it's done, that's something Muslims we have to learn. It's not something that's taught to us in average schools, or maybe, we'd have to investigate it, look into it, sit with teachers. So I'll give you an example. Do you know why when in the telephone game, why the message gets lost? Like if I told you something, you told her, she told him, and it went around the room and it came back. By the time it comes back, do you know why it changes? There's a few reasons. One reason is the articulation could be off. Like if I say, let's go advance. In an army, I'm making an order. Let's go advance. And someone had, let's go to a dance. It sounds, I can say roundabout or rotary. So somebody can have different meanings. You understand, for the same word. So there's different reasons why someone can be speaking slowly and someone can speak faster. Yeah. So in the enunciation of the word, when you're speaking slower, it might change because somebody heard it differently. If you speak it faster, somebody may not have understood it in the right way. So this problem, the Quran dealt with, because the Quran says, read the Quran slowly and distinctly. So as I said, that the Quran is an oral tradition. So one of the things the Quran did was, or the Islam, the way God and His Messenger taught us, is when you recite the Quran, read it slowly and distinctly. So from that, there is a science, it's called tajweed. You guys have heard of this? So tajweed is the articulation of the language. How do you articulate the words? So today, when someone is memorizing the Quran, like I said, there's 35 million people have memorized the Quran. When you memorize the Quran, okay, you don't memorize it how you want to memorize it. It's how you learn it from your teacher, which learned it from his teacher, which learned it from his teacher. And we have something called an ijaza. What does that mean? You get a sanad, it means you get a degree that, let's say I'm teaching you, you're my student. So after we've spent years of learning the Quran together orally, and I've only not taught you what the words are, what the meanings and the articulation. I've taught you that there's something called mad or tashkil, means the highs and lows of the words and how the elongation, all of that I'm teaching you as you're reciting. Just like I say, twinkle, twinkle, little star, but this is just a rhyme. But now I'm teaching you what the speed of those words are going to be, okay? So that's preserved from you to me, to my teacher, which goes back to my teacher, all the way back to Prophet Muhammad. So we have about 30 different sciences in Islam that preserve the Quran. It's not just, we just memorize the word. You understand what I'm saying? So when it comes to the message getting twisted, that's one. Second of all, within the 1400 years ago, the words, what they meant, we have a dictionary within the 1400 years ago, what those words meant back 1400 years ago. So today, if we were to recall, if someone says, no, this word means this, we say, no, let's go back to what the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him's time, what was the word meaning at that time?
When was that dictionary written?
Within 100 years of Prophet Muhammad's life.
Oh, really?
Yes. So what I'm saying, it's not only the words are preserved, the language is preserved, all of the chains are preserved. So everything we need to believe in our tradition is preserved as well. You get the point?
Yeah.
So what's the next goal? What are you guys going to do about it? Are you guys going to read into it?
Sure.
Sure?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you guys want one copy or both? Two? Or what do you guys want? Will you guys read it though?
Sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
excellent.
Thank you.
Can I give you some other stuff to read here as well?